we'll go and get things started. We would like to welcome Jordan Spieth to the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Jordan, welcome, making your season debut. Just want to start off with how is your wrist feeling since we've last seen you?
It feels good. I'm, as I did it the Wednesday after Memphis, so it's been quite a while now. And I was actually planning on making a start before this, and I just hadn't gotten enough on-course reps in and wanted to. I was just kind of up in the air, and then ultimately, this was always going to be a good place to start. And I got a couple great pieces of advice before and during recovery, and one of them was that no one's ever come back too late from a surgery. So I kind of took that to heart, and as much as I wanted to just start getting out there, I'm glad that I've waited till here. And but yeah, things feel really good. I'm very pleased with how everything's gone. It's I wake up, it's a little tight still after putting it to use a lot the last couple weeks to try to get ready. But it's nothing that can do any damage anymore, and I just loosen it up, and then it feels really good. So ideally, I just don't think about it, but that might take a little while. I'm not sure, but it's all systems go now, and I'm excited to be back. I don't feel like I missed much because I think I maybe missed one or two events that I would have played in anyways. So it kind of just feels like the start to a new season, which I think is a good thing.
Who were some of those people you sought for advice asking about?
There's a number of golfers that have had that or similar type operations, and then a couple tennis guys, a couple baseball guys, just some guys who had reached out. And I think biggest thing was one of them was to take your time with it. Another was to make sure that you're not losing your posture. So I had a cast from mid bicep down. Luckily, it wasn't around the shoulder, so I was training, my scaps and shoulders even from like day 5 or 6 on, just to make sure that you don't, you get atrophy obviously through your arm, and that strength naturally will come back once I'm able to get to that phase of the rehab. But to not lose any of it in the shoulder and stuff to where you have to worry about your posture coming back was a big piece of advice that I think was really helpful. And then obviously just the taking your time, which is given, but once it starts to feel good, it's hard to stop after 20 or 30 balls in a day and then wait till the next day. But I was journaling every day and keeping in close touch with my surgeon and making sure I was pushing it enough without going overboard. And it was kind of a fun process now looking back. At the time, at certain days it was fun, certain days it was frustrating. But to lead to where I feel like I can, step up and play this week with no limitations makes it all worth it.
Beautiful place here to be making your season debut where you've had success. Just got done with the practice round. What are you seeing from the course for this week?
I think it's got more bounce to it than any of the AT&Ts that I can remember this time of year. Not quite U.S. Open level, but it's got some bounce to it, which is going to require obviously more accuracy off the tee, but definitely more thinking into the greens. Definitely pitch shots. A lot of times you got away with short-siding yourself this time of year here, and there's less of that. So it's a firmer golf course, which I think makes it better, and the rough still makes it playable where, you'll still see some, guys can score. But you have to be smart about how you're picking it apart versus getting away with kind of throwing darts in.
Perfect. With that, we'll open up with questions. Same as always, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. We'll start off first with Gabby here on the right.
Hey, Jordan. At this point in your career, obviously coming off the injury, do you set short-term goals, long-term goals? Do you even bother doing that? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, both. I think shortest term is to feel like I get through these 3 weeks and I feel as good or better than I did when I started as far as physically. That's kind of a not very exciting goal, but one that would mean a lot. And then I'd love to work myself into contention before the Masters at least once. And then, maybe a lofty goal this year would be to make the Ryder Cup team. I don't have a lot of points off of last season, so given the level of competition on the American side, it's on the points list, I'm going to have to do some really good things in some really big tournaments. So that would be kind of an ultimate kind of year-end goal for this year, would be to make that team. And then a lot of this has been kind of a 10-year outlook. I think if I try to make this year, coming back from this, a must play well, I'm just going to get frustrated because, even though it was a while ago, I haven't really been playing, golf and obviously competitively, but even playing, I haven't played many rounds since mid-August just because of the process. So, I think looking at it from a long-term view as I step on the first tee, take it shot by shot, but, let's settle in, let's get fully healthy and get some of these shots off these hanging lot. Just playing is very different from hitting a lot of balls off mats, and so trying to adjust to that is more short term with kind of a long term back of my mind view of, maybe I got 10 years of hopefully similar schedules and set some goals for some wins and some contending in majors and stuff like that.
What does the road to achieving those goals look like, both on the course and off the course for you?
Not a whole lot different than how I've tried to achieve them the last 10 years. So, I'm in a different place in life now. I've got, a couple young kids, and so my time prioritization changes. And so, finding that balance of trying to be the best you can at your job while also, I like to consider myself pretty hands-on at home as well. So that's different. So it just means any of the rest and TV watching I used to do back in the day, that's kind of done with. But that's fine. It's all replaced by stuff that's better. So I think, I don't think I need to change a whole lot. I think getting healthy and then getting some confidence, I was able to work on some things in the swing kind of in a way that I hadn't worked on them since I was 13 years old, where I had this wet concrete to try to mold some things, get out of some bad habits. And, that's still a work in progress, but I've made a lot of progress in the couple months that I've had to do it. So it took me 6+ months back then, if I remember, when we talk about it, when I talk about it with Cameron. And, so this is a different level to have to get to. So, but I'm really proud of what we've done. So it's stay the course, and, find the right time management, really.
We have James, and we'll go to Dan.
What specifically were you trying to fix with your swing or tweak with your swing in the last couple months?
Well, it was kind of needed to fix. I honestly, it's my hand path. How I used to carry the club steeper going back with my hands kind of traveling a little bit deeper. So doing that, and then combining that with what's necessary to turn it around to line it up at the ball. So I had gotten, high hands that dragged on a lot longer. And so a lot of my, wedge play, some of my finesse shots and stuff, suffered. You could still drive the ball well doing that because you have enough time to make up for it. So it was mainly that, which, to me felt like a big shift. In reality, it probably, if you slow it down on video, you probably see a shift, but, probably wouldn't look that crazy to the naked eye. But, little adjustments for us feel, crazy big.
And then how challenging is it, I guess, psychologically, when you've gotten used to feeling pain throughout the swing? How challenging is that to sort of return to pain-free, doing those same movements that might have been causing it?
Yeah, I never felt pain during the swing, or I would have done something the second I did. So that part, I don't have to, the psychological part was done when it was hurting to hit a real ball and having to kind of push through a little of that week 12 to 16 post-op. That was kind of where I had to start to get, and then when I played like 3 rounds before Christmas, and when I was playing, it was like, all right, you're in the lip of this bunker with an 8-iron, and you have the shot that you haven't hit before on the range, or I plug one in a bunker, and those are the ones that you had to get over, and you just got to hit a few of them, and then they don't hurt, and you're good. But that was all post-op.
Dan?
We've seen the TGL in the last couple months, and we just had a meeting about pace of play and fan forward. There's clearly a lot of stuff that's happening with the tour. Does this all feel to you? I mean, you've been out here a while now. Does it feel necessary? Does it feel a bit reactionary?
I don't know. I think my understanding is the tour is trying to do a lot of polling to the fans, and also a lot of conversations with networks. Obviously linear television's changed from the last time a deal was done till the next time a new thing could happen. So, trying to figure out what's the best product that we can put forward, whether it's on the course here or it's through other, different things like TGL, and how do you reach a different audience? Some people who love this product, may not take into watching TGL, and then I've talked to others who have loved TGL that may not tune in on Saturdays and Sundays to PGA Tour rounds. So I think just broadening that to kind of bridge the gap and invite some new fans in. But my understanding is they're doing the right things as far as who they're talking to, how they're figuring it out, and then open to adjusting, open to making changes quickly to just try to get to what's the best product we could have. Is it all quick or reactive? I mean, it's been a long time of the same thing. So at some point, you got to make changes and be open to it. And is that now? I mean, it seems like guys that have wanted to do TGL are loving it. They're loving playing in it. They say it's very different, but it's also super fun. So, maybe it should have been done sooner. So you could argue that too.
And then the tour has said that the players are leaning in a way that they haven't before. Do you sense that among your peers? Is that
I think it's
ownership or?
I think it's yet to be seen. I think it seems to have started that way, more recently, and hopefully guys continue to do that. And I need to be one to do that too. It's important. I think, it seems that it's been that way the last few years versus maybe the 10 years before that, but that's about the only perspective I have.
What do you think you have to do?
I think, again, it goes back to, I would let the numbers tell me, to be honest, what's going to be best, and, to maximize kind of not maximize, to kind of, make the product the best it possibly can. If somebody tells me that, and I see the data that this is better, or if you're looking at a tour championship format and you're like, okay, the network's like this, what do you, I've already been asked, what do you think about these few models? And I give my opinion on it, and my opinion may not be what others are and what the network, and that's great. And I'm open to any or all of it. But having said that, still, my favorite thing to do is to play against the best players in the world on the world's best golf courses and play 72 holes and come down to Sunday on the back nine and win golf tournaments. So as long as that's not changing a bunch, then, this other stuff, pick and choose what you want to do and try to help grow the sport.
Dylan and then Ron.
I guess regardless of injury, what's different about starting a new season? And I guess what are you excited for in a new golf year?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends, because if you come off a great year, it's, you want to feel like you just step right back into it. And if you came off one that, wasn't your best, then, you want to wipe the slate clean and feel like a total fresh start. You want to get your stats going early. You want to be hitting a bunch of greens. You want to be, making the game as easy as possible to step in. And then the courses are all different, right? You start in Hawaii, it's just a totally different mindset than starting here, right? You have like some of the biggest greens, and then here you have some of the smallest. So, they play quite different. Obviously, the weather is a bit different. So I think it kind of depends. But I think, one similarity is that, there's going to be a little bit of rust. There's one, even if I played every day from, the second you finish Tour Championship till now, tournament golf's tournament golf, and a pin's tucked somewhere that you're not used to it at home, and you make a mistake that you shouldn't with a club you shouldn't, and sometimes it takes, a round or a week or a month to settle into making the right decision and fine-tuning and kind of scraping some of the rust off. So that's the one thing that's similar no matter where you are.
Ron, go ahead.
Jordan, you've played here more than just about anybody. What are your favorite couple of holes at Pebble and why?
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I think one of the most underrated, well, I don't even know if it's underrated, but one of the most underrated holes, one of the most challenging holes we play all year is number 5. That becomes one of the harder par 3s that we'll play. Most of the other ones are also Nicklaus designed holes. So he does a good job of making you really think on a par 3 and have to hit a pretty incredible iron shot. But that stretch of 4 through 10 is just as good as it gets in golf, and it's so awesome. The 7th hole could be one of the easiest holes to par, relative to par on the course, and it could be one of the hardest just on a given day with a wind condition. And then that 8, 9, 10 stretch is extremely challenging. So I think one of my favorite holes in golf is number 6 because it's so dramatic. It's a long answer, but 4 through 10.
We have Doug here, and then we'll go to Adam.
What did you think of Justin's letter?
I thought it was something that, he, like myself, he's been a little more, he's done a few more things than I have, like during round interviews, and but he still then, if he didn't play well, he'd shy away from it the next time, and I think so. He was looking at things maybe similar to the way I was, which is, someone else will do this, and I think he's has a good relationship with some of the guys at NBC and CBS, and I know he's had conversations with them, and I think that's what turned his attention onto, hey, this is, we've made these changes that the players have benefited from. Maybe some of the networks have not necessarily to the level they want to yet. So what can we do to maybe make things better? And then he thought maybe just making everybody aware was a good step forward. And
you don't seem like a walk and talk guy. Did it get your attention or make you rethink?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it has.
So you're doing it this week?
Well, that's where I was hoping you wouldn't ask the question. But yeah, I have. I've got a few things I'm doing this week, so let's maybe. But I'm in. Let's just maybe not. Let's give it like a week or two.
Lastly, I also wanted to ask you, what is your earliest memory of Scotty Scheffler? Who's probably 2 years behind you, 3?
Yeah, he's a few years younger. I think we would have crossed 1 year at college. In college, I think he would have probably been about 9 or 10 years old, and he and Will were about the same age, and I would have been a little bit older, playing in a junior event, and they would play up, and we'd play. I vaguely remember he and Will both just super small, playing against the big boys and being really good for their age, but I don't remember anything really specifically.
And I'm here in the front.
Did you and Scotty cross paths doing rehab in the last month or so?
We played last Thursday, and we didn't realize that we were in the same building. We did it in different surgeons' offices, both hand surgeons' offices, their physical therapists, in the same building, and didn't know we were both there at the same time that morning until we got out there, and I asked who he did it with, and then I knew that surgeon was in the same building that I rehabbed in. So, but no, we didn't cross paths in there. But yeah, we played last Thursday, which I think was his first round back, and what's that?
How does
a little first few holes just starting back, and then just like normal.
What was the tournament you were thinking you might have started the season at that you just weren't ready yet?
I thought I was going to play in the desert, just because I thought it would be nice and easy on the hand with good turf, low rough, good weather, but I'd never played it before, so it was going to be a few golf courses to learn, and I had only played a handful of rounds, and so it was just going to be rougher than I think starting here. So I just thought.
Can you give the timeline of when you started hitting balls, and then playing?
I I could grip a putter in my grip. I could grip a putter about week 8, maybe just before week 8. Before that, it was too much stretch in supination, which was I was like allowed to at week 6, but I couldn't really do it until week 8. And then 8 to 12, I could chip and putt. At about 10.5 or week 11, which would have been beginning of November, I could hit with Nerf balls, so I could work on mechanics. But a real ball, if I hit more than 40, 50 yards, hurt pretty bad on impact. And so then at around week 12, which is what my surgeon thought it would be, the recovery time, there was a stretch there between like 11.5 and 12.5 where I could start to hit on a ball count, and I'd hit one, say a 6-iron thin off the heel, and it hurt real bad, but it would sting, and then it would kind of go away, and then I'd hit a couple more, and they'd be all right if I didn't hit them thin off the heel. And as you can imagine, I mishit a lot of shots after that long off. And then if I hit a couple that hurt in a row, I'd stop. So I had like a ball count for a couple weeks, and then one day the thin heel one just didn't hurt anymore. Like I hit it, and I was like, that should be the exact same as it was yesterday, and it just didn't hurt. And so I was still on a ball count until about December 1st when I was able to go a little more full steam, but still not like 200 balls. I was like 30, 40, 50 day off, 40, 50, 60, something like that.
One last one, if you don't mind. How would you compare your level of frustration with not winning currently to where it was the last time you had a stretch without winning?
Less. I just have more knowledge of what I need to do, and when I just couldn't really do it, it was frustrating. And then when I was able to kind of feel like, okay, I can do it, I just feel some patience towards this next stretch. I know my mechanics, they were off where it was going to be really hard, and now, I feel like they're going to get to where, I should be a lot more of a consistent player. But I just didn't have or take the time to figure that out in the last stretch.
We'll pass the microphone back to Alex and Ryan.
Jordan, just curious, I think the issue has sort of plagued you since 2018. And I know as a competitor you don't want to make excuses, but since you actually had time to reflect, does that color the injury that you had, did that color how you view some of the low points that you've had over the past half decade? And does this sort of feel like a chance to reset and have another act of your career?
Yeah, I think so. My grip around that time, I had hurt it, and I didn't get it fixed, and my grip I already have a weak grip, and it got too weak, and then I went into bad habits for a long time. It wasn't until legitimately Tuesday of Phoenix of 21 that I actually changed my grip like 5-8 degrees more on top with my left hand. And that was 2021, and I played well, decently well for a few years. And then, then this happened May of 23, and then it was just kind of, whether it was affecting it or not, I'll never know. But it doesn't really matter now. So, yeah, I think, a lot of it was on me and my stubbornness and maybe my inability to understand really what was happening. And then, but I think now I have no limitations, and ideally I just feel like I can just be consistent again. Results are results. Results come once one drops or you're in contention enough, it goes your way. But just being consistent, just stepping up and knowing I'm going to start the ball right there, and, that may lead to 69 that day, it may lead to 65, maybe 74, but, I know that the next day, I know what to improve on. Just a lot of less guessing, more confidence in what I'm doing and sticking to it is really what I'm looking forward to.
We'll finish up with Alex and then Gabby.
Expectations. How much have you thought about what you want to do? And you talked about a 10-year plan, but how much have you thought about what you want to do, and how do you see this timeline going in your mind?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the hardest thing for me, is managing that early on. You know, how much patience will I have if, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if I have, you know, if I'm in the top 10 entering Sunday here, but you know, my expectation is to, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not. You know, I need to get into some rounds. You know, I want to win the golf tournament. Don't get me wrong. And am I hitting shots when I swing it the way I want to that can produce a winning score here? Yeah, absolutely. But I think managing him early is going to be really important. I don't feel that I have any from the outside. So it's all just my own at this point. I mean, I've done a bit of everything in my career, so I'm not fazed by that really anymore, just based on seeing both sides of it.
The last thing, we were in a meeting before we came in here with the tour about this fan forward thing, and it seems like all of a sudden there's a recognition that there's fans and they have a complaint, and we should act on that complaint or that issue. Is that how you see that? And are you concerned at some point maybe the fans are going to be driving this train and maybe they shouldn't be?
No, I don't necessarily feel that way. I think maybe the reason that you had the meeting or anything needed to be mentioned is probably because there's been more change in the last couple of years than there had been in 30 years. So you see a reaction from it, and the fans are extremely important in, you know, obviously in how to help adjust to make the product the best going forward. But they're one of the things. You obviously, you know, I mean, I feel like the players have had a lot of control in everything that's happened. So, you know, where's the scale on, you know, on network, media, fans and players? You know, maybe the scale's tipped one way and needs to just kind of even out, and maybe that's their way of doing so. I'm a little bit less involved since Jan 1 than I was before, so I don't have a truly definitive answer because I wasn't a part of anything that was the reason for them having a meeting with you guys. But, you know, the scales need to be, you know, as efficient as possible in what's being adjusted where, and maybe we had the scale tipped one way, and there's been a lot of change, so there's going to be more reaction than your typical year.
I just want to make sure, when you say change, is that definition of live?
Well, no, I'm just saying the PGA Tour has changed into elevated events. You've had TGL launch. You've had obviously Live, but yeah, there's been, and then within Live, there's been deals made, deals not made, deals made. You know, and then you know, hopefully at some point the fraction now is solved the right way, and that'll obviously, I think, help the fans' perspective from what I hear. And then what's the best product going forward, and the way to figure that out is going to be some combination of I think the three things I mentioned.
All right, we'll wrap up with Gabby, and then Mitchell finishes off.
Jordan, one of the things people are talking about with improving the product is hearing more caddy-player conversations. Obviously, you and Michael have a very entertaining relationship out there.
Yeah, it's not for me. That was not directed at me. I think we have enough of that with ours.
Do you ever talk about, like, with Michael, like how, you know, animated and kind of entertaining you guys are out there? Is that a conscious thing?
Not really. I mean, all of it's just. It's not a show like that. I just, you know, it's what I used to say to myself before I had a caddy that I just say out loud now. So I just get really into it and get really involved, and he's my guy. So so it's led to some fun stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm too close to it, so I don't know if that's something. If people want to hear more of that, then they'll stick a microphone in there, but there's going to be some guys who aren't too happy about that.
And wrap up with Mitchell.
Jordan, can you take us through your unique bag this week that you're showcasing with AT&T, and some of the things it features on the outside, or what's special about it to you or just in general?
Yeah, I've had a lot of really cool golf bags here. This one this year, you know, it's a big commemorative 40th anniversary. of the AT&T here at Pebble Beach. So there's an ode to the Birdies for Students that AT&T does on 17. On the 40th birthday, it's going to be a $40,000 donation. Just a lot of ode to the 40th year. And then I've got some really cool stuff around the area. We got 17 Mile Drive on there. There's a patch for the year that I won. There's some Caddyshack references. Bill Murray's obviously been a big part of this event. So it's unique. There's a lot of cool details on it. I get some awesome bags, but this week are about as good as it gets. This week and the Father's Day ones, I always try to keep all of those. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Jordan, for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.